dismiss the one which Wemimo had asked about the Afe Babalola initiative. I can report to us now that Afe Babalola was one of those shown that proclamation of Nina's ahead of when it went to town. And most of the people he's inviting into that initiative, including Obasanjo, they were all shown what we had to table before the country as the step-by-step of how to arrest the situation is about to consume all of us. Now, we saw that communication that he had put 50 million on the table for some kind of summit to come to find out what to be done. A Nina's team has engaged him and explained to him why the difference between what he was trying to put together and what Nina's has proposed to be done. Because we put out on the 16th of December 2020 a comprehensive framework inviting the federal government to come to respond to it. And if a document that we had to advertise in Guardian newspaper, 4 whole pages with 130 signatories that includes a former vice president, military vice president of Nigeria, Kiwe, and the leaders of all the socio-cultural groups across the leader, the Ohanese head of the time, Modo, the one of Middle Belt Forum, the one of Cuba, and all kinds of people, including those who have become angry enough to carry arms against the state. We are the only ones, we are the last peacemakers left. We are the only ones persuading all of them, don't go to any extreme. This matter can be resolved under the roof. And so what I say is that the one that Lola is trying to put together still sidesteps the main issues that have to be. It's not how to write another constitution. You call these people together as far back. You remember in 2005 when we summoned Pronaco, the stage they are trying to get to now in that initiative was the stage we got to in 2005 when we convened Pronaco. And you recollect that we had 164 ethnic delegations. I was at the heart of it, so I can report on it. And we sat for 2 years. We sat in Lagos, we sat in Port Harcourt, we sat in Enugu, we sat in Jos, we went to Kano, and we came back to Lagos to conclude. We had in those delegations, ethnic delegations, Yoruba came as Yoruba, Ijo came as Ijo, all of the groups that were armed, Asari Dokuba and his volunteer force, the OPC and Ghanaian Adams, all of them, we persuaded them to say, look, we can resolve this matter. The British are gone. We can talk to ourselves. Muhammad Buhari was part of the Fulani delegation that came to that to Pronaco. Sayed Abubakar, that is Sultan now, he was in the army at the time. He was part of the Fulani delegation that came. There's nothing we're discussing now that we're not discussing in that conference at that time. And we came out with a draft that should have taken Nigeria onto the path of returning to being a federation. But this same set of people became the only ones who decided to move away from that consensus. It is that consensus that we are now enforcing. And when I say enforce, the owners of the sovereignties that have been corralled, that have been confiscated and hijacked by the central government, which is in turn now hijacked by the Fulani, are going to enforce their sovereignty. They're going to take back their sovereignty from that Nigeria that is refusing to listen to them. So my answer to the Afe Babalola bit is that what they want to do now is already more than 15 years behind, because we did it, we succeeded, and we got a draft that the people who say they own Nigeria refused to. Everybody else is in agreement that we should go back to, being a federation. That is what they call restructuring, reconstruction. Let us accept that we can't build on this foundation any further. Let's then go and do a process. Everybody knows what we want in outcome. We have put a mechanism, by how it can be done step by step from when we start to when we finish. This same set of people who are now refusing, who are defying, they are defying all of us. They are defying our sovereignty. Let's not bring it to where the people who have been shot in the Middle Belt, the people who have been deprived in all the places. If you go overseas to see the number of Nigerians that are trying to run away from their country, they die in the Mediterranean Sea, They end up as slaves in China and everywhere they go. We are saying we must now accept that this country is their homeland, is where they can come to fend for themselves. You can't make it uninhabitable by seizing electricity, seizing everything that then treating them like slaves in their land. And you hope to keep it because there's a Nigeria that Lugard gave to us in 1914. That Nigeria defined by this constitution is no longer our project. Let everybody understand that. That Nigeria is no longer a project, along with all the institutions, whether it's National Assembly or National Army or NNPC or Immigration or MPA. Go and look at the top echelon of management. Look against this map and see where they came from. That's what we're talking about. They have hijacked our sovereignty, and they don't need to agree with us. They don't need to agree with us for us to take back that sovereignty. It is an inalienable right to us. We're only being civil. We're only mindful of anarchy. That's why we're bringing this kind of process to it. And I've been on it 21 years, every day and night, bringing all of those we find who are willing to reason, to say, this is how we can do it. And there's a majority involved, the whole of the South and the whole of the Middle Belt, that will not accept one more election under this constitution. And they are going to take it out against their own kinsmen who swear to defend and uphold this instrument of death that the 1999 Constitution has turned out to be. They have all the time between now and the next election. We are not, 2023 is still very far away. This matter can be finished in less than 6 months if arrogance is put out of the way. And we have on the table how it can be done. That constitutional force majeure proclamation of December 16, 2020 has everything that we need at this time to solve this problem. That is about that. The one of Ayo Adenuga, that he says he wants a section of the constitution that brings about this heavy cost of governance. The 36 states, the federation we had up to 1966 had only 4 governments. The federal government, the 4 regional governments. By the brigandage of the soldiers and the people, the people from that section of the country that kept the soldiers in government house for so long, we now have 36 states. To compound it, we have 774 local government areas that must be funded every month, unilaterally, imposed. And by the time you see the number of things on the exclusive list, which means that the federal government must have this large number of ministers, each of whom has a large paraphernalia of people that have to work with them, each governor, his own convoy, and all of that. It is the section 1 that defines our federation as a federation of 36 states and 704 local government areas, more than anything else, that has increased the cost of governance astronomically. Beyond that, there is also this the appropriation provisions under which you are practically unaccountable to anyone. With the what's it called? With the one that protects them is the immunity clause in 308. So when you put all of it together, you discover that if you remove section 6, subsection 6C, the people going to government will already owe the citizens the obligation of education and healthcare and all kinds of things written in that chapter, in the chapter 2, in favor of the citizen. It's nullified by that section. So that responsibility is not there, and they have all the money to ride all the convoys they can ride. Look around your community, whether there's been another primary school built apart from the one you attended, whether there's been another healthcare center built apart from the one you left in the village 30 years ago. That is what they've been doing. It is this constitution that confiscates all the assets and puts in the hands of these few people who now carry on as if they own our sovereignty. I hope they don't learn the hard way that they do not own our sovereignty. The National Assembly was elected to make laws according to Constitution. The contention here now is that we have not made any Constitution. And let us understand this so that by the time I come to the last answer, everybody will be on the same page. We all know about companies and their memo and article. What the memo and article is to the company is what the Constitution is to the country. It is the memo that creates the company. Johnson, Judge, and James coming together to say, we now form John James Limited. That is the memo. The articles is where it's a totally different document. Is where the relationships between the owners of the company that has already been created is defined. Who brings what, who takes what, how do they live, how do they come, new people come to join them, all kinds of things contained in the articles. The same way, the Constitution is in those two parts of memo and article. The memo is where we say, we the people, we the Ijaw, we the Ogoni, we the Igbo, we the Ibero, have solemnly resolved to live together. That is a totally different transaction. And that is what is most urgent to be done now. The second transaction would then be having agreed in that meeting. There must be a meeting before you can agree. If there was no meeting, you couldn't say you agreed. They are alleging falsely that we agreed to submit our lands and our assets into this union to be managed according to what they now wrote as constitution, again without reference to us. They didn't even bring it for referendum for us to say, okay, you've written the wrong thing, let us approve of it. They didn't do any of that. And so we have a situation in which the memo and articles of the enterprise Nigeria has been hijacked by the hired management, which is what the government is in all its three arms. They are just the hired management for that. The owners of that enterprise are those who could have been countries of their own, if not for Nigeria. Yoruba will be a country of its own. In the eastern part, you have a country of 70 million people. In the middle belt, you have a country of 40 million people. They will be greater in number and strength than more than half of the countries of the world in terms of size, even if they become countries of their own. But we're not saying, we're only saying, let the matter go to referendum. Let the matter go to the decision of the people. We have put a process that can bring us to where, peacefully from where we are now, even as bad as it is, that can bring us to where people are voting for what they want to do with their future. The union, the Nigeria that is erected on this falsehood of a constitution is dead and gone. We are trying to manage the successor protocols in how they can emerge in peace. But people are not going to sit and wait to be killed to the last person when they can see that people are already upon them. People have been invited to kill them and take over their lands. That's what they're facing. It doesn't matter how we paint all the other pictures. So it is in that light that I will then go to the first question of how do we do it? Let me explain to us that in the process, we had a 20-year plan. We can say all of that now so that everybody can hear it. We had a 20-year plan that was drawn up immediately. This constitution was imposed in 1999. I was involved in NADECO to an extent that I knew that NADECO had an unfinished business. The soldiers left the government house, but they managed to dump on us the constitution they made in 1979. So the immediate task was how to go to make a constitution that can sustain democracy, because you cannot have democracy or rule of law under this constitution that is anti-everything that could bring us to such. And so the plan began with a meeting of all. That was what became PRONACO. We had researched and found out things that our fathers did not know about. We actually broke into the British archives to get at the documents that predated 1914, which is what we're going to be putting out in the days ahead, to tell our people that it was a clear plan of the British with their local agents, the Sokoto Caliphate. They were together. Nobody else was told they were going to lump these strange civilizations together. But the British knew. They also knew where to end, because in the reports we have, they predicted all the things that are happening now, that when it comes to where we wake up, we're going to go before the League of Nations to assert our right to self-determination. When we discover that we have been swindled of our assets, particularly lands, these are things in black and white that predate 1914. They knew what they were doing. They knew where to end, but they were hoping somehow that they will make their profit and go their way before the house crashes on us. We must take responsibility for ourselves. Now, what do we do? That proclamation of December 16, 2020 spells out all of what the problems are from this body of knowledge that have been built up all the way from NADECO to PRONACO through every step, because I'm sure you remember the solemn assemblies that were held first in Port Harcourt on the 27th of April in 2015, then in Ibadan on the 7th of September in 2017 at Adamasingba Stadium, then in Makurdi on the 18th of July in 2018, whereby the nationalities of these alliance blocks came together under one roof to announce to the global community that they had endured to the maximum of their limits the constitution that has been imposed on them by people from one section of the country. And so it is in having repudiated that constitution as democratically possible, as democratically done as possible, that we came down to where on the 11th of December in 2018, we came together. That was the first time the alliance was the MNN alliance. MNN was a movement for New Nigeria, was an alliance of organizations like the LNC, where I'm secretary, the other Yoruba Congress of the time, the Middle Belt Congress of the time. Eventually, these organizations were able to get their people to stand up, because it's a right to self-determination that accrues to the people. It's a people's right. And we are lucky to have a UN instrument. I have a copy here. And under this instrument, the remedy available to us is called self-determination. For those who are talking about secession, they are illiterates and ignoramuses. Self-determination is where you determine for yourself what you want in your space. As long as you are an ancestor, you are a distinct nationality in your ancestral space, which was why we had to go to Ijo as Ijo, go to Ogoni as Ogoni. Nigeria is a project we all have to put together. The one we put together is dead and gone. The Federation of Nigeria collapsed in 1966, and something else took the carcass. The Caliphate took up the carcass and have been pretending to be that Nigeria. They call it one Nigeria. For those who do not understand the meaning of one Nigeria, it's totally different from Nigeria. Nigeria was the federation, the federal union. One Nigeria that emerged from 1967 is the Nigeria that exclusively belongs to the Fulani. If you argue with them, they kill you. And so that one Nigeria is now embodied in this constitution that we didn't make. It has seized all our assets and all our rights, and with our hands tied to the back, with all our assets seized by these same people, they have invited their brothers from all over the continent of Africa to come in and take whatever they can find. The ones we call Fulani herdsmen are the advanced teams from those countries to which this land has been partitioned. Everybody knows where they come, like the promised land. The people we call Fulani herdsmen are the ones who are here to secure their own parts ahead of the arrival of the others. And all of it is that we have to be killed in order for them to have a homeland.